But if you're the National Football League, okay, clearly it's not about talent anymore. It's about something else. And I'm going to tell you, I spent a large amount of the last 24 hours thinking about nothing more than I was thinking about collusion.
The $50 million robbery of Shedeur Sanders. Because that's what I just witnessed. Everywhere we've seen, everything we've seen, everybody that has seen him play said he is the one or two in this draft. I love Cleveland picking this kid.
The NFL draft is usually a time of celebration, a moment when dreams come true and talent gets recognized. But in the spring of 2025, that dream took a sharp turn for Shedeur Sanders. Instead of a milestone, it became a nightmare. One that might lead to one of the biggest lawsuits the NFL has faced in years. Shedeur, the Colorado Buffaloes quarterback and son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders, was once expected to be a top 10 draft pick. But instead, he slid all the way down to the 5th round, pick number 144, by the Cleveland Browns. Now, quiet speculation has grown into loud conversations. Reports say the Sanders family is getting ready to take legal action against the NFL and several team owners, accusing them of collusion, defamation, and causing long-term financial harm. And the more you look into it, the more complicated it seems. From the outside, Shedeur's sudden drop in the draft doesn't add up.
What we're looking at is a convergence of a lot of history falling into one weekend. There's a history of the NFL and their ideas about protecting the shield and what they feel like. There's histories of the Sanders, history of the quarterback, which makes this really complicated and pretty much impossible to find one specific answer about why Sanders fell. He was probably already a fringe first-round pick, so some of the mock drafts were wrong. There's probably some owners out there who wanted to humble him and Sanders, and then there's just the talent that was there. So I'm not, it's okay, I think, to say we don't know what the specific answer is. What I do know, though, and I know it's maybe a little bit of a tangent, but I feel like it's important to say, I want to say this to folks on the internet and folks who are paying attention. This is not the Colin Kaepernick situation. This is important to know. Colin Kaepernick was absolutely blackballed from the league for standing up for folks' rights. This is not what Shedeur Sanders went to. He was embarrassed for 48 hours in the draft, and he ended up going to a Browns team where he still could possibly be a starter on that team because they managed to have half of Wu-Tang Clan's worth of bad quarterbacks, and he can still work his way up to a starter. So this is not the same situation. His career can still end up being okay.
Shedeur Sanders led the entire NCAA in completion percentage with an impressive 74.1%, broke several school records, and was right at the center of what many called the most talked about college football storyline in the last 20 years. With months of hype suggesting he wouldn't fall past the early second round, the expectation was clear. But instead, he had to sit through 3 painfully long days. Then came pick number 144, a moment that quickly went viral for all the wrong reasons. The cameras at his private draft party cut away. The champagne never even got opened. The room went completely silent. Deion Sanders didn't hold back afterward. According to those close to him, he was furious, allegedly saying, "This league just blackballed my son." At first, it sounded like a heartbroken father speaking out, but not long after, the leak started.
Because how in the hell does 32 teams in the National Football League pass on a quarterback that was universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the country entering this draft, and 32 teams passed on him? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 different times they passed on him. How the hell does that happen? 4 rounds. It doesn't happen to a quarterback. We've never seen anything like this before. We've seen guys drop because of injuries. We've seen guys drop because of off-field issues, but we've never seen a quarterback projected to be a top 20 pick, universally recognized one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the draft, projected to be a first rounder, in all likelihood a safe bet of a late first rounder, and drop literally to the 5th round. We haven't seen anything like that.
So a lot of times when you go to these combine meetings, teams give you things to challenge you. Teams will have a player's worst plays ready for him, and they'll show him his worst plays and say, "Hey, why don't you explain them?" And Shedeur apparently didn't take to it well. And at one point, one of the few teams that actually was interested in him said, well, what do you make of this really bad play? And Shedeur said, maybe I'm not the guy for you. That's not the answer. Another moment. What they do during the film and the combine and the meetings is teams will install mistakes intentionally planted in the install, and they want you to catch them. Shedeur didn't, and when a coach called him out, once again, it didn't sit well. It's like, bro, there's not many teams needing quarterbacks, especially since Pittsburgh appears to have a deal with Aaron Rodgers and Tennessee's getting Cam Ward. So you're down to the Giants, who were not interested at all, and Cleveland, who traded out of that 2 spot because clearly they were looking for next year's class like the Rams are.
Based on internal messages uncovered by a private investigator working with Shedeur Sanders' legal team, messages that haven't been made public yet but are currently being looked into by several independent news outlets, it looks like a few NFL team owners may have raised red flags about the media frenzy and the branding baggage tied to Shedeur. Even more concerning, there are reported claims that some team ownership groups were having behind-the-scenes talks, quietly advising each other to steer clear of drafting Shedeur unless they absolutely had no choice. People close to the Sanders camp say these private conversations even mentioned things Deion said back during Super Bowl week. Those blunt interviews where Coach Prime made it clear they would call the shots and wouldn't play for certain teams. Basically, they were following the same playbook Eli Manning used.
Will you step in Eli Manning like, Deion Sanders like, to the point where like you told him, hey man, I ain't taking that psych test with the Giants. I followed you after that. I said I wasn't taking it either. Will you step in and do some of that if it's the wrong organization and say he ain't going there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
This time around, though, the league supposedly answered with a wall of silence and behind-the-scenes sabotage. According to insiders, the upcoming lawsuit is expected to claim that the NFL worked together to hurt Shedeur's draft stock, not because of his skills, but because of how things looked in the media, internal politics, and bruised egos.
If they played the cards and picked him up in the 5th round, but I surely would like to know how they knew he would still be there in the 5th round. I've been on that stage for years and years and years. I've never seen them position the cameras in position, give forewarning about who's about to be drafted. I wonder if Cleveland got a call from somebody in the NFL saying, we got to draft this kid. You just robbed this young man of $50 million. And it wasn't on his playing ability. Wow. Shame on you.
Primetime Deion Sanders' natural bravado, coupled with that of his son. They say that the whole interview process wasn't that impressive. When he showed up at the NFL scouting combine and refused to work out, that hurt him. The interview process while he was there hurt him, etc., etc. You know what, y'all? I get it. It makes perfect damn sense if he's drafted in the 2nd round. It's the fact that he fell to 5th that's alarming.
After the draft, analysts on Fox Sports tried to make sense of the slide. Some said Shedeur wasn't a once-in-a-generation type of player. Others questioned his intangibles or pointed to the so-called baggage he brought with him. But instead of cooling things down, those comments only added fuel to the fire for Sanders' legal team. They're asking, how does a quarterback with a higher completion percentage than the #1 overall pick fall more than 130 spots? Why did draft experts rate him so highly, yet not one NFL GM publicly pushed back when he slid? From the Sanders camp's point of view, this wasn't just a case of a poor team fit. It looked more like a deliberate effort to send a clear message. Players don't get to control their future. That power belongs to the league. And nothing seemed to capture that message more clearly than Colin Cowherd's widely shared line: "Nobody wants a celebrity backup quarterback." According to sources, that quote is already being looked at closely by attorneys and has shown up in early versions of the legal filing. To them, it's more than just a jab. It's part of the case.
Really, really good. Yeah, cool. Proud of you. All right. Cool. Really nice job. You're not fully proud, kinda. I'm kinda proud.
Look, first shot, was it perfect? No, but she made plays, she operated. Shedeur he's a very impressive young man. He's poised, he's calm, he's smart. You can tell that he's been raised by, really quite honestly, a Hall of Fame dad. Look, we're going to get to know him even more.
Andrew Berry is back and stunned everyone with a bold call. He bumped Shedeur Sanders ahead of Dillon Gabriel, jumping him from the 3rd spot to the 2nd. Here's the twist. Berry is all in on Shedeur, and it's intentional. He was the one inside the Browns organization who pushed for Shedeur to join the team. We saw the signs in the preseason. Berry clearly wanted Shedeur Sanders to break through and succeed in the NFL.
In regards to Shedeur and Theon's not going to interfere. Theon's not going to be calling the coach. Theon's not going to be commenting about Shedeur while he's in Colorado. Lou, I think there's a lot of just fake news out there.
All spring, Andrew Berry zeroed in on Shedeur Sanders. His initial plan was to get him in the 1st or 2nd round. When the board didn't break that way, you could see the urgency. By round 5, Berry pushed the issue. He pressed the Haslams to greenlight the pick and bring Shedeur to Cleveland. His pitch covered more than arm talent and processing speed. He emphasized Shedeur's market presence and ability to lift the franchise's profile. That combination sealed it, and the Browns made the move. From there, Shedeur quickly became one of the team's most visible figures, which many around the league expected. Cleveland then moved Kenny Pickett, narrowing the depth chart traffic and giving Shedeur a cleaner runway to compete for meaningful snaps. The message was simple: opportunity is coming, and the path is clear. After a strong preseason debut, Berry sought Shedeur out and delivered direct praise. That wasn't a routine pat on the back, it was a deliberate public endorsement. It signaled how the Browns view him, not just as another quarterback on the roster, but as a priority investment with both on-field upside and off-field impact. The organization's actions, draft capital, roster moves, and visible support line up behind the same idea. They're betting on Shedeur Sanders and intend to give him every chance to grow into a central piece of this team.
Really good. Proud of you. All right. Cool. Really nice job. You're not fully proud, kinda.
I'm
kinda proud.
Look, first shot, was it perfect? No, but she made plays, she operated, it's just stacked.
I love when you tell the facts, did you? No, but it's okay.
Listen, you did a nice job.
Andrew Berry's bet on Shedeur Sanders is aging well, and the media is starting to echo that view. Mary Kay Cabot recently argued that Shedeur is the primary reason the Cleveland Browns remain in the conversation after a rough year. In her view, amid team-wide struggles, it's Sanders' presence, his profile, buzz, and flashes that kept Cleveland from slipping out of the spotlight entirely. Without him, she suggests, the Browns likely drift off the national radar. That ripple effect validates Berry's aggressive stance. The move wasn't just about a depth chart. It was about relevance and upside. Cabot also underscored that Shedeur isn't merely a headline. He's a quarterback with real runway to grow. His tools and poise are too substantial for Cleveland to park on the sidelines, and she pushed for a genuine opportunity to see what he can be with proper support. The calculus is straightforward. If he meets expectations, the Browns have a young centerpiece. If he doesn't, the organization can still reassess and pivot. Either way, the signal is clear. Berry's conviction in Shedeur Sanders has positioned Cleveland to capture attention now, while exploring a ceiling that could reshape the team's future.
It was too much value to pass up there, a developmental quarterback that they could take a look at and just kind of see what they had.
Right now, his upside clearly outweighs the downside. It's a bet the team can't ignore. After Shedeur Sanders' tough preseason outing, when critics jumped in, Andrew Berry didn't let it drift. Instead of excuses, he acted. He pulled the entire offensive line that had been on the field with Shedeur. That decision shook the building and made the front office's stance obvious. Protect the quarterback, give him a fair evaluation, and set him up to succeed. It signaled full investment in his development. Berry's move wasn't just a swap of personnel, it set a standard. He pushed for accountability, demanded changes, and focused on building a setting where Shedeur can grow instead of being put in losing spots. It's one of the strongest steps in reshaping the Browns roster and shows real trust in Shedeur's trajectory. There's also a bigger plan here. These choices aren't only about one game. They're tied to the long-term quarterback picture. With Dillon Gabriel's physical limitations and Kenny Pickett gone, the front office knows it needs a quarterback who can handle NFL speed and punishment. The post-Joe Flacco roadmap depends on getting this decision right. After all of that, Kevin Stefanski's latest comments flipped the tone. He's now publicly backing Shedeur's growth, regardless of outside noise. That's notable because Stefanski previously downplayed Shedeur's upside and critiqued him. With Pickett out of the mix, the focus has shifted. Shedeur's size, strength, and on-field tools are giving him a real edge over Gabriel. While there are ongoing questions about Gabriel's frame, Shedeur looks like the more complete option. That difference could be what pushes him up the Browns' depth chart.
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
TJ Houshmandzadeh has weighed in too, saying the heat on Kevin Stefanski is rising, and a lot of it stems from Andrew Berry's aggressive choices. Houshmandzadeh pointed out that the microscope on Cleveland's quarterback plan is getting sharper, leaving Stefanski with little room for error. His warning was direct. If Stefanski keeps capping Shedeur Sanders' role or downplaying his importance, it could put his job at risk. With the front office and fan base tracking every move and Berry firmly behind Shedeur, any attempt to slow him down could push Stefanski onto the hot seat. Bottom line, Berry's steadfast backing of Shedeur Sanders now defines the Browns' quarterback landscape, and the ripple effects are everywhere. From the early draft push to the decisive preseason calls, Berry has made it clear he intends to give Shedeur a real runway. That stance hasn't just shifted the depth chart, it's also forced key figures, Stefanski included, to recalibrate their approach. What used to be a conversation full of doubts about Shedeur's ceiling has turned into a high-stakes pivot point, with Berry's conviction driving the agenda. As the pressure builds, Stefanski stands at a decision point. The spotlight on Shedeur, the expectations from fans, and the backing from the front office leave minimal margin for missteps. Stefanski has to balance his system with the reality that Berry's faith in Shedeur is now central to the team's direction. The future of the position in Cleveland may hinge on how well Stefanski manages that balance. With Berry all in, the trajectory looks promising, but Stefanski's choices in the coming months will determine whether Shedeur's rise takes off or stalls. What's your read on Andrew Berry's aggressive approach and the pressure on Kevin Stefanski? Do you back Berry's unwavering commitment to Shedeur Sanders? Or is it too much risk for a young quarterback? And how do you feel about Stefanski's shift in tone, given his earlier skepticism? Share your take below. Does this pressure cooker sharpen the Browns, or set them up to stumble?
And it's not a knock, it's just how he plays in that spread wide open offense, and you project that to a spread wide open field. Yes, the arm may not be as strong.
I can't imagine there's many people that think Dylan Gabriel's a better quarterback than Shedeur Sanders. I don't care where they were drafted. And if the Browns are the one team that thinks that, then I'm going to suspect it's not true.
I never root against anybody.
Yeah.
But I'd be surprised if Dylan Gabriel's ever a legitimate starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. I'd be surprised. I just don't think.
Big news coming out of Cleveland. The competition for the starting quarterback spot is getting intense. Right now, it looks like Shedeur Sanders is pulling ahead in the race for QB1, while Dylan Gabriel is starting to raise concerns about whether he can hold onto the job. Gabriel was brought in for his size and physical presence, but things haven't been going his way. His arm strength and overall throwing performance during training camp have been underwhelming. In contrast, Sanders has been consistently outperforming him on the field. At this point, Shedeur Sanders seems to be on track to take over as Cleveland's starting quarterback. This shift could have big implications for the team moving forward. Initially, Gabriel was drafted before Sanders and was widely seen as the likely pick for the top quarterback spot. But there's been one major issue that keeps coming up: his height. At just 5'11", Gabriel's size has become a real concern, especially in a league where physical stature can make a big difference. Throughout training camp, Gabriel has had a tough time making long throws with the kind of ease people expected from him. In a position that demands both power and precision, that's a tough weakness to overcome. Meanwhile, Sanders has continued to turn heads with his ability to deliver accurate deep passes, using his long limbs and natural throwing ability to his advantage. It's become clear that Sanders has taken control of the QB battle during camp, while Gabriel has struggled, particularly when facing pressure or a crowded pocket. That's now led to a lot of talk from analysts, who are wondering if Gabriel's lack of arm strength and ability to perform under pressure might be too big of a hurdle for him to succeed in the NFL. The big question now: how can a quarterback with such a serious gap in his game expect to survive, let alone thrive, in one of the most competitive football leagues on the planet.
Gets the ball out, he's accurate. As far as how's that translate to the National Football League, I just don't see it. I don't know why. I'm sure he's a great kid, he plays his ass off, he's a winner, but when I watch him on tape, nothing really excites me about his game other than the fact that he's pretty accurate, got a quick arm.
Dillon Gabriel's struggles became pretty obvious during OTAs and minicamps, where some key issues in his game started to show. One particular rep stood out. He looked noticeably worried about defensive linemen swatting down his passes at the line of scrimmage. That concern led him to start releasing the ball a bit higher than usual, and it threw things off. Some of his passes ended up sailing over his receivers' heads, while others got tipped right at the line. It's definitely something he'll need to work on if he wants to seriously compete at the pro level.
Dillon Gabriel raises a lot of eyebrows of concern. As you guys know, he had a ball batted down today, and it turned into an interception, pick six. And you guys can see right here, this was a cause of concern coming into the draft when it pertained to Dillon Gabriel, is how his smaller frame. You guys seen it with the Johnny Manziels. Just kind of with those guys, the smaller frames getting balls batted down to the line, ultimately turns into interceptions.
That being said, both Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders have things they need to work on. Neither of them is flawless, and the quarterback competition is still very much alive. Sanders has shown more consistency throughout camp, but nothing is set in stone just yet. Both quarterbacks are still in the running, and the battle is only getting more intense. While Gabriel was having his share of mistakes, Sanders was out there dropping dimes during practice. His throws were on point, showing off some serious precision and smart decision-making. One play in particular stood out. He connected with his tight end on a corner route near the back pylon. It was a tight window, with a linebacker trailing, and the receiver pressed at the line. But Sanders placed the ball perfectly. It was a textbook read. As soon as the safety bit on the short route, Sanders quickly recognized the one-on-one coverage and took the deep shot without hesitation. That kind of situational awareness, paired with his accuracy, is what's giving him the edge right now. There's even been some chatter that Cleveland may have picked up Dillon Gabriel just to block another team from grabbing Sanders. According to reports, owner Jimmy Haslam was very interested in bringing Shedeur on board, but not everyone on the coaching staff was sold at the time. Regardless of those early disagreements, Sanders is proving himself where it matters, on the field, showing that he's ready to compete at the highest level.
There's a lot of speculation. He wanted Shedeur Sanders. The staff drafted Dillon Gabriel, Oregon, 2 rounds earlier. And they were doing that not because they necessarily loved Dillon Gabriel, they liked him, but they thought it would stop their impulsive owner from forcing them to draft in round 4 Shedeur Sanders.
One thing that's really helped Shedeur Sanders stand out is how well he communicates on the field and takes charge of his teammates. His leadership and calm under pressure have pushed aside any lingering doubts about his potential, and he's steadily climbing to the top of the QB competition. The progress he's made in such a short span is making the coaching staff take a second look at their original plans. At this point, it's becoming clear that Sanders is making a serious case to be the future face of the Cleveland Browns. But it's not just the coaches he's winning over. Fans are fully backing him too. Across all age groups, people are showing strong support for Sanders, with many calling for him to be named the starting quarterback. His exciting playstyle, paired with his natural leadership and magnetic personality, has really struck a chord with the fan base. There's a noticeable buzz building around the idea of him leading the team, and fans are clearly invested in his journey. The hype isn't just about what he could become, it's about the energy and spark he's already bringing to the team. Fans want someone who can lead, inspire, and get results. And right now, Sanders looks like that guy. Even veteran quarterback Joe Flacco had high praise for him, saying Sanders puts a smile on his face, not just because of how he plays, but because of the positive vibe he brings to the locker room. It's obvious that Sanders is leaving a strong impression on everyone, from coaches and analysts to his teammates.
I don't know if it has an impact on much, but Shedeur's been great. I mean, he's a lot of fun to be around in those meeting rooms, and I think so far there's been, at least once in the meeting room that he's made me crack a smile, and that's what it's all about. He's a young guy trying to learn some football and come out here and practice well and do those things. And like I said, he's been a lot of fun. I mean, he's come up to me and.
As the quarterback race in Cleveland picks up steam, it's becoming more obvious that Dillon Gabriel is slipping out of serious contention for the starting role. He came into camp with high hopes, thanks in large part to his size and athleticism, but his recent showings have raised some red flags. Gabriel's inconsistency with deep throws, especially when under pressure, has exposed a major weakness that's tough to ignore. Even with his solid build and physical tools, Gabriel just hasn't shown the kind of arm strength and accuracy needed to compete at the NFL level. His inability to stay composed and deliver under pressure has only fueled more concern about whether he can really hold his own in this league. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is quickly climbing the depth chart, not just because of his standout play, but also due to his physical strength and mental grit. Sanders has been throwing with confidence and precision, even under duress, and he's consistently making smart reads when it counts. His accuracy and decision-making have really popped during training camp. What's more impressive is Sanders' commitment. Even without getting most of the first-team reps, he's stayed locked in and kept a disciplined approach. That work ethic, paired with his upbeat personality and leadership qualities, has earned him the respect of both his coaches and teammates. He's become a favorite among the fans, not just for what he's doing on the field, but for the energy he brings to the team overall. With Gabriel continuing to struggle, Sanders is clearly setting himself apart, not only with performance, but with presence. So now the question goes out to Browns fans. With Gabriel trying to find his footing, and Sanders making a strong push with solid play and leadership, who do you see taking over as QB1? Are you holding out hope that Gabriel bounces back? Or do you think Sanders is the obvious choice to lead this team into the future? Let us know what you think and who you're backing.